What were some times when you died inside? Once created a painting for a friend, hung it up on the door to my apartment as a surprise. It was easily bypassed. He asked, "What's with people around here? You let people put shitty vacation ads on your door?" Never again. For those asking, I live in West Virginia. It was a painting of one of our favorite spots we would seek when hiking. This happened in Morgantown and it's called Blue Hole, not really sure of the actual name of the river. He showed me the place. Lots of people go swimming there, but he knew a secret spot. It was a view from the exit of the trees of our favorite area. Honestly, a lot of people had things like that in Morgantown and around the state, which is why I think he easily overlooked it. I did not tell him at that time. I was so embarrassed I was glad he didn't figure it out. Eventually I did tell him when we were drunk, yeah, liquid courage, and I could see everything click in his head. He was sorry, but we've gotten past it. 6th grade, all-day field trip to SeaWorld Orlando. Surprise period through my white shorts. All the moms who wanted to help only had tampons. I was 11 and had no idea how to use them. There ensued an embarrassing crash course. I was devastated, until random dad saved the day by giving me his windbreaker to tie around my waist, and told me to go have fun. Thanks random field trip dad, you saved the day. I had a customer who was holding and examining an awkward, fragile, and expensive item with one hand. I asked her to please hold it with two. She turned to look at me. She only had one arm. In the 7th grade, I got my back to school clothes. For some reason, I thought yellow pants and a yellow Hawaiian shirt looked awesome. I was excited to wear this new outfit. We were not wealthy, so having new clothes like this was a big deal for me. Sitting in my English class I received a note. It said, "Are you the mustard man?" and was signed by every person in the ducking class, and as I read it, they all burst out in laughter. All of them. It's a moment in life where you have to laugh or cry, and either way you die inside. I chose to laugh. Kids are cruel. I found a resident at my work, CNA, crying, and when asked what was wrong he responded, "I have baby brains." For some context, I work at a traumatic brain injury center. For these types of people, this is their permanent home. And coming from someone who is usually caught in a 3-sentence loop, the self-realization was something I didn't think he was capable of. Feels badman.jpg. Geez, I can't even imagine. How did you respond? I initially thought, no, but replied with something like, "Hey, that's not the case, you're a full-grown man," and proceeded to breathe with him to calm him down. It ended with us laughing, and him calling me a pretty cool dude. When I was about 13, my dad took me aside one night and apologized for putting so much effort into supporting my twin brother and so little into supporting me. I always assumed he was just smarter/physically more gifted. Turns out he and my mother had actively and knowingly neglected me in order to encourage my brother's achievements. Happened all through my schooling. They paid thousands for his sporting trips, and when I had the same opportunities they just didn't have the money. Still kills me inside now. I'm a guy with a twin sister. My dad made it known that they expected me to do well on my own while they unabashedly supported my sister. Still killed me on our 16th birthday when she got a car in the driveway wrapped in a big bow, and I got the weed whacker sitting next to it. I've told this story before, but there was a time when I knew I was coming down with what I was sure was going to be an absolute bastard of a cold. Already beginning to feel a little fuzzy in the brain, I decided to make myself some chicken soup in advance to get me through the worst of it. I chopped some carrots, chopped some onions, threw in a chicken carcass, and over the course of about 4 hours made the most bomb-ass stock you could imagine. Then my dumbass poured it through a colander directly into the sink. It took me a good 30 seconds before I realized what I'd done. Then I just sat on the kitchen floor for about 10 minutes, gazing at the opposite wall and wishing real life had a Control-Z function. When you're having a conversation with your friends and you keep getting talked over like you never said anything, and by the time someone does acknowledge you the subject has changed so they all give you a weird look for being so behind, and it keeps happening, and you realize that these people aren't really your friends, you're just kind of there. Last year a work friend of mine died. After his funeral, a large group of us went to a pub to have a few drinks in remembrance of him. Someone suggested to get a group photo of everyone there. I was asked to take the photo. It probably shouldn't have bothered me as much as it did, but it did. I went to an interview once, where one of the two people interviewing me asked if I knew French. I said I knew core French, so they decided to conduct the interview completely in French. I can understand when someone speaks French to me. I can read and write fluently in French, but I can't for the life of me speak French. It was so bad that one of the interviewers got up and left halfway through and didn't come back. Needless to say, I didn't get the job. When my mother told me on my wedding day not to lose this man, because no one could ever love me. Same day telling me in my wedding dress not to gain any more weight, because if I have a baby I'd basically be fat forever. When I was 14 and super sick, one summer I couldn't eat. Was down below 100 pounds. My mom told me I should go put a bikini on so she could take photos, because I'd never be that skinny again. I had just fainted a couple hours earlier, because I hadn't been able to eat. She just used all her own insecurities all over me my whole life. My husband and I have been married almost 16 years. He has spent our entire marriage undoing all of the damage she has done. He's a saint. I received a set of boxes in the mail with no return address on a Monday morning. When I opened the boxes, I started noticing stuff that is my mom's, her handwriting on notes. This seems to be some sort of care package from my mom. Was in college at the time. As I opened more, there were all these documents. I was confused. Then I found the note. My mom committed suicide but planned it all out. She sent me a list of things to take care of now that she's gone. Now I hate getting packages. I crochet, and my old boss at work asked me for a scarf. He requested lilac, which I thought was odd, but he was super insistent and even sent me a color chart pointing out the exact shade he wanted. I bought the yarn and made him a scarf, but then ran into him and mentioned the scarf again, and he started cracking up saying he was joking. Definitely embarrassing. But I'm glad I didn't actually bring it with me and give him the scarf only to find out he was being an asshole. I wound up giving it to another coworker who was watching the whole thing play out, and she was super appreciative. I go back and forth between my mom's and dad's house, court ordered, and I have 4 years. I switch houses every Sunday at about 7 PM. I was playing in the yard with my dog, waiting for her to get there, and when she did, we drove home. I had just gotten out of the car and walked inside of my mom's house when she got a call. She handed me the phone, and apparently, seconds after we drove away, my dog had a heart attack and died. They rushed him to the vet, but they couldn't save him. I never got to say goodbye. When I was 17, depressed and was seriously considering ending my life, I wanted to know how my mother had died. She died when I was 2, so I never knew her. Before I decided on killing myself, I wanted to know how she had passed away. So one day in the car, just me and my dad, I asked my dad how she died. He didn't say anything for like a full-on minute, and I was nervous about his reaction. So when I finally looked at him, there were tears running down his face. It was that moment I felt like a piece of crap for wanting to end my life. What made it worse was that when he finally gathered himself he told me she had hung herself due to her BPD, borderline personality disorder. So I felt like an even bigger piece of crap. So, just seeing how 15 years after she died that was how he reacted when asked how she died, I knew I couldn't make him feel that way again. So I wasn't living for myself, but to stop him from going through that again. One night after going to a concert with one of my friends, and I dropped him off at his house, as he was getting out of the car, he started looking for something. When I asked him what he was looking for, he said, "I think I lost my weed." He had about a half an eighth left in a baggie, and gave up after looking around a bit, concluding he lost it at the show. Cut to 10 minutes later, and I, on the way home, got pulled over for not coming to a full stop at a stop sign. As the cop approached the car, the thought of my friend's lost bag crossed my mind. The cop went through the usual routine, asked for my license and registration, asked where I'd been that evening, have I had anything to drink, Is there anything in the car he needed to know about? I answered everything flawlessly, but then as he's standing there, I see something catch his eye as he's looking in, and he shined a flashlight inside on it, and asked, "What's that?" I died inside when I looked over and saw, perfectly framed in the spotlight, my friend's bag of weed on the passenger side floor. How he didn't find it while looking around I'll never understand. Somehow, I was able to articulate my case that it wasn't my weed but my dumbass friend's well enough that he took pity on me and just confiscated it and let me off with a warning for that, plus a $70 ticket for the stop sign. That time I left school while chatting to friends and spotted my mom's car, got in said car and uttered the usual, "Thanks for picking me up, mom," only to realize that it was not in fact my mom's car, but a complete stranger and their family. Were they good sports about it at least? I kinda sat there for a minute staring while my brain came to the decision that, yes, this is indeed the wrong car, perhaps I should get out. The dad just said, "Wrong car," and I left and pretended that nobody saw my horrifying mistake. Introducing myself to my mom every time I visit her, and explaining to her that I'm her son. Every single time. Alzheimer's is the most fucked up thing. The person is there, but is not. My grandma had it, and I could see how much it would destroy my dad to talk to her. She thought that her youngest son was 4, not a grown man with family, and would constantly ask about him. Clearly loved him more than anything, but couldn't see he was right there with her. Setting: junior high. Status: awkward preteen. Style: liked cats, very shy. Walked out of the school bathroom. Noticed after a bit that the popular girl in school was watching me, giving me a strange look. She then approached me, and wordlessly pulled my skirt out of my underwear that I'd just tidily tucked in with the rest of my uniform. Then just walked away to avoid my shame, as I'd just been walking around with my panties showing.